Hey folks, Phil the B-Man here. I've had a number of requests for more details on my box lifter. So this is for you if that's what you've been wanting to know. It's a combination of homemade and one expensive component. After I show you the manipulator, we'll go up in the scissor lift and look at the track and the unit. So first of all, the end of a crane is called a manipulator. This is, I've got two air hoses to the thumb control and two little catches that go in the handles. It can lift either the sides or the ends of the box, and it's really kind of operator's preference. And so this is an empty box, but typically these would be, full honey boxes, pallet of honey right here, and the boxes one by one are put on this little track and put into the boxer. And this unit allows either that to be not a terrible job for someone, or perhaps even a person who isn't a bodybuilder to do it all day without excessive fatigue. So when I made this, relying on kind of the scissor action, the pull is from the middle, and that creates not only some lift but also some tension. As this pulls, it wants to close, and so when it's over the box, yeah, that's a good view. You can see how the lift also wants to close it so that you create enough pressure on the box that those little handholds are pretty effective. So that's why it has that crisscross effect. I think that's not unusual. And then the handles actually came with the unit, and I just welded them onto the tubing I used to make this. A little bit of chain, and then it connects to the cable that came as part of the unit. So that's everything up to here is what came with the lift. I added on the extra. So that's all pretty simple. Now let's go up in the scissor lift, and I'll probably flip the camera around and I'll show you what we got up there. So here is the lift unit. Now it doesn't look like, but this is actually a big pneumatic cylinder with a valve that wants to run in and out, but it's on a threaded center. So as it's pressured in and then sprung back through the air pressure, it rolls and unrolls. And that's what gives it the lift on the cable. And that also means that it has a fair bit of kind of spring or softness to the lift, unlike because that air pressure in there is quite dynamic compared to if, suppose this had a motor that turned that cable in and out, that there's no softness to it. So these are actually called balancers. They're meant for workstations where, for instance, in a factory, someone's putting tires on a car that they're lifting all day. They might use this to create kind of neutral lift rather than a winch. It's Zimmerman Handling Systems is the name of the production, but it looks like it's a part of the Ingersoll Rand Corporation. And so that's all very simple. And then of course you can see that it goes way down there to the lift station. And then the infeed is a single pneumatic hose. Now that was buying this was not cheap, but of course the the more important part is actually what you hang it on. And the person who sold me that had great ideas for what I should do with the rest of my money, wanting to build essentially a gantry system. So instead of a gantry system, I designed this barn door. You can see this is channel track, typically used for sliding doors on machine sheds and barns. And I have, I think, 3 sections of it, organized in a triangle. So there's a hinge. I actually used a barn door hinge, and then some tubing connecting to the barn door track, and there's one facing up and one facing down. You can see that. And the reason there's one up is that I have a third track that also hangs down. And so the weight of the lift is carried by, see if I can get this far enough away. You can see the whole thing, probably not. I can, hang on a sec, I'm gonna back the lift out a bit here. So hinge there that sweeps that arm in and out, but it's nowhere near strong enough to carry the weight. And so the outside edge of it is carried by this perpendicular support that's hung from the roof. And because you're the end of the arm sweeps a circle and this track is straight, I needed the top track. So actually it slides in both at once. Let me pull it over now and you'll see how that works. Oh, I'm gonna have to adjust my positioning again. So as the beam slides across its center, both the top and the bottom points move against each other. And then to get the leveling just right, I built this welded a couple nuts and a couple threaded rod, and it hangs this is a standard door hanger, and then some cotter pins to make sure once I had it right, it would stay there. I probably should have made this part out of stainless steel, but don't tell the inspector and we're all good. So anyway, that's how that works. I'm not sure it would pass a super heavy safety inspection, but it's worked for me for 25 years. I first set this up in a different shed, and then I brought it over when I set up my new honey house. So, and then the pneumatic is just fed from the same system that powers the extracting line, which is down there. So there's a bird's eye view of my extractor, just about ready to go. We set up some honey today, and we'll bring it in on Monday. Might be extracting as early as Tuesday. We weren't super impressed with what we found, but it'll be what it is. Okay, so that's my box lifter. And the reason this works is because this barn door system, well, in fact, I think I had all this stuff kicking around from barn doors that I had taken down and put overhead doors on. So it was pretty cheap compared to a parallel gantry system that would be quite pricey. You'll see in many honey houses, they'll have a box lifter that's on a vertical post. And they often have very limited swings of just a few feet. And so it can't maybe not reach out onto a full pallet. This one I can put 2 honey pallets side by side and start working on one as soon as the next one's done, because this track runs out quite a ways over there. So that's my box lifter system. I hope this is the information you folks were looking for. These are just barn door rollers as well. So the lifter slides on the bottom track. The track itself slides on the top. Most of the weight is carried by this cross beam, and it all works just as well as you'd expect. And while I'm up here, just inspect that there's no visible cracks in any welds or anything. Everything looks pretty good. I think it'll run for one more year. Have a great day, everybody.